Namaste, everybody. I hope you're all doing well. Welcome to my channel. We'll be doing this feature on my channel today, and as you can see from the beautiful thumbnail that Sadhana has made for us, we will be talking about Dharma today. Dharma through the lens of tarot court cards, and Dharma through the lens of our life path cards and mages. And I just wanted to say hello to Jonathan and Sadhana.
Aloha.
And to everybody joining us in the chat. And both of you are really well known in our tarot community, but just let's take a minute for you to introduce yourself for those people if they happen not to know your channels, which are, by the way, linked in the description of our live below. And just if you can just share a little bit more about you and about what your channel is about.
I guess I'll go first.
Yeah.
I am Jonathan. I live on the beautiful island of Maui in Hawaii, and I am an acupuncturist, health coach. I do past life regressions. I do tarot and oracles, make wearable crystal grids. I mean, I do quite a few things at this point. And my channel is pretty much focused on interviewing deck creators.
Wonderful.
Hello, everyone. My name is Sadhana, and my channel is Integrative Healing with Sadhana. I took that long name off the bottom because it's a lot to have across the bottom of the screen. I am a tarot reader. I'm an intuitive reader, and I have been reading tarot for over 20 years. It's been part of my life for some time. I'm a Reiki master, and I practice a lot of energy healing through integrated approaches. And right now my focus is on teaching. I'm teaching a lot of different classes and courses, crystals and Reiki and tarot and other things. So that's kind of where my energy is right now. And I'm working on combining all of the documents I'm creating through these courses into a book. That's my long-term intention. Yeah.
Oh, that's exciting. I didn't know that. I didn't know about the book. Yeah.
Well, the course content eventually will get edited and become a book.
Wonderful. It's like when I write my articles, I kind of have in mind of retreats and workshops on the subject, so you can integrate it all. Yeah. And we have quite a few people now that our friends have joined us. So Pamona was here first. Lucy from Australia was here nice and early. And then Neem has joined. Mindy, Zane, IT guy, Kristen is here, Kenzie, and Robin has just popped in as well. So hello to you all. So nice to have you all here. Yeah, and for those of you who are watching, we will talk more about ourselves, right? And I think our friends will find more about us as we talk about our Dharma today, given the subject of this conversation. Hi, Selkie and Swan Spirit. I also wanted to mention to those of you expecting Amber, she may pop in at some time because she had to look after her child, so she may be popping in and out at some point. So let's get to our first question, and I actually did create little banners here. So Jonathan and Sadhana, what is your understanding of the word or concept of Dharma that we will be talking about today?
Well, when I was in 6th grade, 7th grade, I actually went to a Hindu private school. So that's where I learned the concept of Dharma. And there they were all about walking your true path. That's what Dharma is. So that's how I learned what Dharma was, is walking the path that is yours.
Exactly. And that may not be in alignment with your career path. So our Dharma, is our essential, or our essence, right? The true life path. And so I think part of our life journey is to bring all aspects of our life in alignment with our Dharma.
Yeah, I had it written there. Dharma is our living in alignment, right? But if we look at Dharma also from that Sanskrit point of view, right, the Sanskrit language where it comes from, it translates as like impulse of the universe or order of the universe, right? So it's our unique purpose in the world, and it's that purpose of, yes, living, finding that purpose and living in alignment, and it's unique to individuals. And also, I know that most of you joining us here for this conversation today in the live chat, you've seen our first two parts where we dove into doshas and gunas, right, the Vedic concepts. So while we kind of, we sort of interweaving, right, the teachings from Vedas, from different Vedic scriptures into kind of looking at tarot cards from that perspective, I also wanted to mention that according to Vedic teachings, there are like 4 dharmas, right? So there are 4 different dharmas which are combined under the umbrella of one big dharma, right? So the dharma is, as we mentioned, that inner purpose, that living in alignment, our almost duty in the world to live in that alignment. But also we have Artha Dharma, and Artha Dharma, it's all about our goals and values. So how can we form the goals and values so we can promote and live that dharma, that live our purpose. We also have Kama Dharma, and Kama Dharma, it's all about finding joy and happiness in actions, right? So as we live our Dharma, so finding that happiness and contentment that we, to fulfill that purpose. And of course, we have the Moksha Dharma, because Dharma is more than just the career path or our kind of what we do in the world, but it's also kind of linked very much to our spirituality. And Moksha Dharma is, we've lost Jonathan, hopefully he comes back. And Moksha Dharma, it's about our high spiritual knowledge and gaining liberation through Dharma. Yeah, and they're more kind of, they're called Purushatas, if you're familiar, those of you who are yogis here and familiar with Vedic scriptures. So yeah, I hope that Jonathan comes back. And yeah, I think he is back. Let's just see. Welcome back.
Yeah, sorry, I got dropped somehow. Not sure
Yeah.
how.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, so that's kind of our understanding of Dharma. And for those of you in the live chat, do share what your understanding of Dharma is. And big hello to Corvin, who has joined us. And I saw somebody else, yeah, Corvin is Anna Smith is here as well. So hello, everybody. We're very excited to have you here. And I will just highlight our next question. So now we will be sharing about our journey, right? So growing up, did you know deep down what your Dharma was? What has been your personal experience in discovering? And then I thought discovering, is it discovering or remembering? So I included both for us to chat about discovering your Dharma. How about you, Sadhana?
I don't think so. Other than if you go back to childhood and the things that you played. I mean, I used to play teacher. We used to set up school and we used to play school. So I guess if I go to that memory, then yes, because part of my Dharma is the path of the teacher. So I suppose, yes, perhaps.
I would say yes in my case, because my mother always encouraged me to listen to my dreams and pay attention to the otherworldly things around us. And so that Dharma of being like a seer and a healer was always there. I remember in summer camp, I used to go give the nurse hand massages because she was always using her hands and they were in agony constantly. So at the age of, I don't know, 14, 15, I just instinctually knew how to give her these perfect hand massages that she always like was begging me to keep coming back. And every day she wanted one. So it's just, I think it's innate in me. And during that same summer camp, I had my first past life regression. And that really opened things for me in a way that, like, I think was preordained, I guess would be a good way of putting it. And that path just kind of, it's like every time I try and get off, I get shoved back on. So
yeah, it's wonderful how you sort of knew almost right early on How it's, yeah. Well, for me, it's also like the path of the teacher was, when I remember myself as a child, I always knew that I wanted to be a teacher. But interestingly, as I was growing up, I kind of was moving away from that because I kind of wanted to have a better career than a teacher, you know, and we'll talk about a little bit about upbringing. But for me, I was just preoccupied with schooling, with my music studies, with kind of planning my future. So I put that on the side. I guess I kind of forgot about that I really, as growing up, I really wanted to be a teacher. But I also, growing up, I had that strong connection to plants and to animals and to the nature. And I always saw plants and herbs as magic. I with my family never was brought up looking at those healing properties of the certain things, right? But I just always saw them as just magic, and then they can be healing. And it just kind of my memories. I'll just quickly scroll the comments, and so if any of you have any questions, just type them in capitals or tag either of us. So we'll just see the tag, and then we'll pull the questions up for you. Right. Yeah. So next one is about our upbringing, right? Did your ancestry and upbringing play a role or influenced you in finding your Dharma?
Part of my ancestry, so I was adopted from birth. And so a lot of the ancestry I am not entirely familiar with, but I know there is a connection to Ireland, and there are mystics through the family lineage. But that was not, here, when I was a child. So I have to say no to that question. But going back to that previous question, so the second part of it was about your experience. I think learning how to listen and to trust myself was a curiosity throughout my childhood, and we're going to talk a little later about life path and so forth. But there's a couple of intersecting paths that joined very early as a child, and learning to trust and listen to my visions and to be playful with my visions, I think, came as a unique childhood experience, but it was definitely not supported by my environment, that's for sure.
Yeah, playfulness, it's so important, right? And then bringing it again to that concept of the Skama Dharma, right? Finding that joy and happiness, in living the purpose.
Whereas I seem to have had the opposite, because my mother always encouraged, like when I was in elementary school, she got, I think I was in second grade. She got special permission for me to come to her 5th grade class where she had this Native American shaman come to tell stories. And then she did an energy circle, and the shaman took my mom aside and said, "Your son, strong in spirit, nurture that." And so my mother's always been doing that. And because of her, I went to that summer camp where I had this like New Age class where we learned about crystals and runes and the tarot and pendulums and energy work and past life regressions and like everything. Right? So, I mean, for me, it is upbringing, and I think it's also ancestry, because Daly, I looked it up. Apparently, Daly was an Irish last name, O'Donnell. And there was some legend back in the Middle Ages that if you didn't have an O'Donnell bard by your side, you couldn't be considered a true king, which is just like, oh, okay, that totally fits with how I feel about myself. So, like, I would never want to be king. I want to be the king's advisor.
Yeah. It sounds like, you went to the dream school.
Yeah.
I think we actually had, we had a question. IT guy, is it Joe? Is it Joe the IT guy?
Yeah, Joseph.
Joseph, yeah, hi Joseph. Yeah, because I was thinking I recognized the name, but I thought it was the IT guy, so I just didn't want to assume. So for those who do not know our Dharma, what is the best way to figure it out? It's a wonderful question. Do either of you want to take it?
That's an interesting question. I always, when someone asks me questions like that, my instinct is usually follow your bliss, because that will lead you to your true path. So that's usually what my answer is, because it's so multi-layered that it's one of those lifelong explorations. So follow your bliss.
That's good advice, Jonathan.
Yeah. Yeah, I actually last night I just was talking to my husband about our life today, right? And of course he is kind of in management. He works in the industry, and I know that many of us on YouTube also come from that corporate background, right? So we were talking about also, and I kind of had an idea, and I don't know what you think about that, more kind of seeing Dharma. It's like our mission statement, right? But then also we have the strategy levers, or the means of how we live our Dharma. So for example, like if I had to use it more like my mission statement as Dharma is, for me, is to be of service and to inspire transformation. So if I would ask you, how would you define your kind of so-called mission statement, Sadhana and Jonathan? Do you have something like that? Like, you know, that mission in life you have, what would it be like in one little sentence?
Wow. You know, there's part of my journey is embracing my fearlessness, but also understanding that the path takes many twists and turns, and sometimes we do get diverted for a period of time, and to not beat ourselves up when that happens. You know, we can't always be directly shooting for the light or directly staying on path. And I think these diversions or obstacles or whatever you want to call them are part of the journey. And sometimes we get hung up on the mistakes that we made. I had several readings today where people were talking about their mistakes. And I don't see them as mistakes. I see them all as part of the process. So I think my mission statement is something to do with, I don't know, like it's a really good question. I'm going to do some journaling after we finish here, but it has to do with fearless devotion.
Yeah.
Definitely. Was that Amber agreeing?
Oh,
she's hungry. No, it's my dog, Amber.
Okay. Okay. Yeah, I thought, is Amber coming? I thought it was our Amber coming. Yeah. But also, like, well, you see, I guess probably what we do in the world, like when I talk about, I guess my mission is to be of service, to inspire growth and to inspire healing. Would you agree it's a big part of your Dharma as well?
Oh, for sure.
Yeah, and what I'm leading towards, just to kind of, I don't know, for Joseph, if it's some kind of somehow answers the question or sort of brings something to think about. So yeah, so we can probably say that because we are of service to different, like to community in a different way, right? So Jonathan, you do acupuncture, you do healing. Sadhana, you teach yoga and so many other modalities, and do Reiki. I am a yoga teacher, I write. Right, but our kind of that we do share a big chunk of our Dharma, but the means how we do it, like our strategy levers using the business language, but how we do it in the world is different, right? So we kind of, the mission may be similar.
We just use different tools, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So and that's the thing. And
we're just using different tools to reach that goal, right?
Yeah, and Sadhana mentioned that Dharma is not necessarily your career. It could be, right, if you kind of discover that life purpose. But yes, and I think like careers can be more underneath that mission statement, is how do you reach that mission that you set for yourself?
Right.
If it makes any sense, yeah.
I guess if I had to boil it down to one line, is helping others learn to love themselves again.
Beautiful. Yeah. And then you would use all the tools, right, that you've collected throughout the lifetime.
Like, let's work.
Yeah. Yeah, beautiful. Yeah, so my, well, going back to the ancestry and the influences, for me, it was neither nor, because in my family, I guess I grew up with the family who just kind of lived their lives. They never really contemplated a concept of any like life purpose, and I grew up in a loving family, but it just never was brought up. The spiritual studies never were brought up, apart from my granny being Russian Orthodox and just pretty much quoting the Bible without answering any questions that I had, you know. So that kind of, for me, it wasn't. Ancestry wise, I guess I know that my ancestors, most of them, they lived by land, so they all came from kind of villages, and they all were self-sustained, right? So they grew up their own produce. They were part of the community, so they kind of, whatever they needed, they kind of shared. Was the bartering type of system. So that, I guess, that probably influenced me, because I like to, you know, I still do love to live from the earth. And although of course I don't grow things myself now in a bigger house, I'm beginning to, but also knowing where things come from in terms of like what I put into my body. So that was, I guess, very ancestral for me. But also for me, what I have found in discovering my Dharma, that the realization that finding your life purpose is not necessarily the most comfortable thing to do. And for me, it was a lot of discomfort, and it was a lot cultivating courage and reflecting on, again, on that mission of what I want to do in the world, why I want to do it, and just being courageous doing that. I'll just quickly check our comments.
I think the courageousness is a huge part.
Definitely.
Because sometimes the family that we are born into, or the community or the circumstances, has a certain expectation. And so we are through giri, is that a Japanese word? Like duty? Through duty, we follow a path that follows our family, or the family business, or what everybody in our family has already done. And so I feel with Dharma, there's this I use that word fearlessness. There's this courage to trust, and to trust that inner feeling, and that inner, I hate to use the word authenticity, it's so overused, but that inner light that really feels like it's yours. And you can, you know, there can be family breakdowns and different things that happen, that are very, very challenging, in order to step onto your path, and rightly so, step onto your path, and to unapologetically be on your path. And I feel like, you know, in our community, there's a lot of people that, you know, still wander in and out of the tarot closet or the spiritual closet. And it's not an easy place to be sometimes.
Yeah, and I can say for myself, I'm very open about, you know, tarot and reading cards. But when I do teach public yoga classes, I never bring it up unless I am asked. You know, and that's the thing. It's just something for me still to work on, because my yoga path, it's a big chunk of using tarot as a part of my spiritual practice. Yeah.
Right. And then there's always those awkward moments. Like, I have a neighbor who I've been teaching tarot to, and I was taking a deck over just to like have our usual play date. And this other neighbor whose kids sometimes play with my kid, like, her kids and her were out in the driveway. The kids were like, "What's that?" I'm like, "Oh, it's a tarot deck." And then there was just like this curtain of awkwardness that just kind of descended, and it was like, "Oh, okay," kind of thing. And then I was just like, "Yeah, well, I'll see you guys later," and I move on. But it's just like, you still have those moments where it's like, "Oh, right," you get that, I don't know, curtain of awkwardness is the best way of describing it. So.
Yeah, and I guess probably we experienced it with yoga as well. I don't know, Sadhana, if you can relate. because when I started practicing yoga, yoga was sort of like, yeah, it was a common thing to do, right? So it wasn't a stretch thing to practice. But then if you kind of bring the concept of the energy and chakras and Vedic studies, then it was the curtain drop, right? So the practice of yoga was accepted, but what they kind of, what I guess what people referred to was just kind of putting the body in all these crazy shapes, right, and taking poses. But if you bring more kind of spiritual, more magic side of yoga, really, because the last chapter of Yoga Sutras is pretty much like a chapter on magic powers, right, that people would be really kind of uncomfortable, and that will be that awkward moment of silence.
It is, and learning how to, I mean, if you have regular students, and if you are in a place where you can teach public classes and you have regular students coming, you can slowly start to introduce these concepts and build their, and observe their comfort level with all these different things. And it's really, it's such a beautiful experience to develop a relationship with a teacher and grow yoga that way. But I totally agree. I totally agree with you. Yeah. And even just chanting mantra, like I love to chant mantra every single yoga class, but it's some classes, it's just, the students aren't ready for it. And so there's this line between, okay, where can I go with this? How can I share the path? How can I share that the path of mantra is an integral part of the path of yoga, which maybe you're thinking of as just the asana practice.
Yeah. And it's
point here. Did you see that comment by Pomona? To learn more about Dharma Karma, please read the Bhagavad Gita. So
yeah.
Deep. That's the book to do it with.
Yeah, and Bhagavad Gita. Well, I really like the translation by Yogananda. And there is kind of a briefer one, and there is a one with 2 volumes. But Bhagavad Gita, absolutely. And Jen has just asked us a question. I know I was late, but could you quickly recap what you mean by your definition of Dharma?
Your life path, I guess. Right, just like our life paths in the Tarot.
Yeah, so it's it's the life path, right? We're talking about living in alignment. In the language of my husband, it's your mission statement.
Right, exactly.
Oh, Sadhana has just posted that Stephen Coe's book. Yeah, I really love his writing, and I think you touched on it, right, in in our first segment when we did it on your channel, Sadhana. But can you just please share a little bit more about Stephen Coe's books, because there are a few, right, for those people who are not aware, because they're really accessible. And hello.
Hi,
Amber.
My child, yeah.
It's the wrong, not Lavender Moon Amber, but my dog.
Well, now I saw the nose.
So, okay, Stephen, I believe he still is a resident teacher at Kripalu, which is in Eastern US. And Kripalu is a yoga institute. It's a beautiful center. And his books generally are a set at Kripalu, and they are based around interactions with different students. So in the Great Work of Your Life, Stephen talks about the major lessons in the Bhagavad Gita about finding your path. And he integrates so beautifully the experiences of the people who are at Kripalu at that time with the different verses in the Bhagavad Gita. So you get this you get the Mahabharata references with contemporary stories and real people. And his reading is so accessible, and you can just picture the beauty. I mean, I read his books long before I went to Kripalu. And once I went to Kripalu, it was like, wow, it's as beautiful as he describes it. Like I could see the whole place in my mind. It was amazing. And then in the earlier one, I mentioned, which is his book. What's the name of the book that is about the Yoga Sutras?
The Wisdom of Yoga?
Yeah.
Was it the Wisdom, something, the Wisdom, I think.
The Wisdom of Yoga. Yeah. So that one incorporates the Yoga Sutras into his experiences with his students and has real life situations. So yeah, I would recommend any of his books. They're very easy to read and highly relatable. And then that might lead you to picking up another translation of the Yoga Sutras or the Bhagavad Gita. And he's written many other books as well too.
Yeah. The Wisdom of, yeah, Mandy, thank you so much for the links, Mandy. Yeah.
Mandy,
So let's just, yeah, she is. All right, so next I'll just pull up our next banner so everyone can see the question. So we've discussed our particular Dharma. And then do you believe that our doshas or predominant elemental constituents, because we are all of the 5 elements, right, are connected or determine our dharmas, and how so?
Big question, Mascha.
I know, but I want to know. You see, like I've come up with these questions because I'm so curious. You know, Vata mind, very excitable, very curious.
Yeah. I think that they have. I think that they have supported or helped me to grow into my Dharma. So, for example, my Kapha tendency has allowed me to hold space and be calm and create a nurturing atmosphere where people can grow and learn and be and meditate and feel comfortable in their vulnerability. So yes. And then my fiery side, my Pitta dosha, is able to be honest and frank and light a fire underneath people's butts when I need to do that. So yeah, so I think yes is the answer.
I would say it's a yes, but it's not like locked in place. There's elbow room, there's wiggle room. So just, I mean, just like we're given free will to be able to like go the wrong way and then get lost, and then were we really lost, or was that were we supposed to be lost? So I mean, we have to have that wiggle room.
Yeah,
but yeah, I think it's totally it's almost like 2 sides of the same coin, really.
And I find those constituents, they change as well as we grow, right? Yeah, but for me, it really has been helpful, and I'm actually quite curious, Sadhana and Jonathan. Do you believe we are born with Dharma, or you think it's the life, it's our life purpose to find one?
Oh, so we carry our samskaras in our DNA. I believe that. Good question. These are really good questions, Mascha. I believe it's interconnected to our samskaras. So samskaras would be the patterns that we have repeated lifetime after lifetime and are working through to achieve enlightenment. And so I believe that our path, our Dharma, is, yeah, of course, it's part of that journey.
Right. Yeah, I agree. Especially if you like think about past life wounds, ancestral wounds that you carry, that's gonna weigh you a certain way and kind of force your hand too. So I think we are born with certain things laid out in front of us, whether we take that path or not. That's where free will comes in. We're like weighed down with certain things, and we can either drop them, choose our own path, or let them guide us. I mean, that's kind of how I see things.
Yeah, I guess I don't know the answer. I just the question just popped up, and it's only my hypothesis is that I think yes, because and that's why I'm kind of looking at doshas in a way and the elements, because we are born with certain kind of constitution, with certain predominant doshic constitution or elemental constitution, and dharma can be, well, in my experience, through past life regression, it helped me to refine my dharma as bringing healing into the world as well. So. And that's why, like, for me, I guess if we are born with already dharma for us to fulfill in this lifetime, and if we are born with the particular constitution, elemental constitution, so for me it's absolutely they're linked, and knowing our characteristics. Well, I'm Vata in the mind, right? So I'm very quick, I'm fast moving, but also what it means that I have a lot of ideas, right? So I'm really great at visualization and brainstorming. Pitta in me, because I'm Vata Pitta, that fire, it helps me to follow through, but I don't have that enough fire as Pitta would have, right? And so I kind of think, for me, it's been it's been huge to discover to learn about myself through the studies of the doshas and Ayurveda, and how those things can be enhanced and balanced.
Well, the Bhagavad Gita would suggest we don't have a choice. Our dharma is predestined.
Right, and the bag is, you can't drop it. You have to carry it.
Right, so that was Arjuna's big question. Why do I have to kill my uncles and my brothers?
Yeah, because it is one of the translation of dharma is your duty, right? Yeah. We had a couple of questions there from Mindy. In my very limited understanding, your dharma can change through your life too, correct?
I think if you work at it, you can kind of sway things the way you want it, but certain things I think are just ingrained. It's not like you can escape it.
Yeah.
But I mean, the way you express it can change. I see that.
What is shifting, I believe, is your perception or your clarity on what it is. I don't think the dharma is changing.
No.
I think your perception of it is changing.
Yeah.
Expression of it.
I agree, because I can use my grandmother as an example. I don't think she ever discovered her dharma in her lifetime, right? So what I think the dharma, it doesn't change, but we may remember more, we may reflect on it more, we may discover through that remembering, and sometimes we do it a little bit later in life as well, right? As we reflect, as we do the studies. But of course, how you fulfill your dharma absolutely can change, because giving myself an example, and you, Sadhana and Jonathan, because we maybe I started with the yoga path, right? But it added, as I learn more about nutrition and herbalism, all those things, they are added, and they have become a part of my dharma. But my dharma is the same, right? Is to serve and to inspire growth and healing among the community, right? To be of service to the world. But how I do it, as I learn those things, some things that maybe removed, some things are added. Those, as Jonathan mentioned, the tools can be different, but my dharma is the same.
Right.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah. And Jen had a comment. Dharma is the teachings of, and I asked Jen more questions, her understanding from that Buddhist studies that she's been doing. Dharma is the teachings of Buddha, and Dharma, small d, is more implementing the teachings. That's a very basic explanation. I agree, Jen. We talked, I know that you popped in a little bit later. In Vedic teachings, there are like 4 dharmas, right? Dharma with big D is that kind of the, I guess, the headline of the 4 other dharmas. And the other dharmas are that I mentioned, the goals, right? So how you do it, how you implement those teachings. So they're your goals and values that can help you to fulfill that big D dharma. And then also finding the contentment and joy in the process of fulfilling it, and also of course gaining that liberation as your moksha, that more as you gain more spiritual knowledge. So I think that actually the teachings, they're very, like, to me, they're not really separate of the Buddhism teachings on Dharma and Vedic teachings on Dharma.
I consider it kind of Hinduism and Buddhism kind of like that difference between Christianity and Judaism. They have the same roots, basically.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I took a non-Western philosophy class when I was 19, so I got to experience like Hinduism, Tibetan Buddhism, Zen Buddhism, Taoism, Confucianism, like, so that was that whole class, the whole very mind expansion.
Yeah. Yeah, and while we, a little bit on doshas, I just wanted to mention, because I think I've seen a couple of people just more kind of revising things. Yeah, so doshas, they're pretty much our elemental references, right? So we are 5 elements. We have all 5 elements in different quantities in ourselves, and that's what we were talking about in our previous features with sadhana and emba. But yes, so let's move on actually to the cards now, and life path cards. Do you know your life path cards, Jonathan and Sadhana?
Depends on which system you're using. I know both systems. So in one, I am justice, and in the other, I am judgment.
Mm-hmm.
But both of them, my soul card is the high priestess.
Right. And do you see your Dharma in all 3 of the cards, or you?
Yeah, I do.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Can you just, do you have any cards to show, the ones that you resonate when you look at your life path cards, Jonathan?
Well, that's what I was going to do. I was actually trying to get out the court cards, since we were going to talk about court cards as well. But yeah, actually, I have the Fyodor Pavlov here. Let me just pull a couple of these out, because this deck, I love this deck so much.
Which deck, Jonathan?
The Fyodor Pavlov Tarot. Sorry, I'll show you.
Fyodor Pavlov sounds very Russian. Is he Russian, of the creator from Russian origin? Do you know, Jonathan?
I think so. Zane is, if Zane's here, he also got the deck, and
okay.
He might know. I can't remember. I think Eastern European for sure, but I don't know if they were actually Russian.
It's my card as well too.
Is it your life path card by like calculating, or is it the chosen one?
Number 2.
Yeah.
No, by calculating. So depending on the reduction of the numbers, so in most life path, you reduce the month, you reduce the day, you reduce the year, you add them together and get a reduction. And if you have an 11 or a 22, those are not reduced. That's how I learned to do it. And so I'm a life path 2. Yeah.
So yeah, I love this high priestess. That is definitely my soul card right here.
That's beautiful. Maybe somebody could put the name of that deck into the chat.
Yeah, well, I know Corwin knows about the deck because she's saying he's from Russia. The creator is from Russia. Can you show again, Jonathan? Sorry, I'll just brought you in. Wow, beautiful.
So, and I always like seeing the High Priestess and Justice together, since, you know, life path's soul path for me. And it's amazing how often they just like, they look like sisters.
Mm.
Right? And even in like the regular RWS, if you hold the High Priestess and Justice together, it's like they're almost mirrors of each other.
Mm.
So.
Beautiful.
Yeah, beautiful cards. And do you have any particular deck, Sadhana, when it comes to your life path card as the High Priestess? Well, you've showed the Wildwood one, right? No.
Yeah, you know, I don't think I have found a deck where the High Priestess I completely resonate with. I mean, I really like the more Celtic deck for the High Priestess, where she's more in touch with the elements. And I really feel you know, this reminds me of when I did my shamanic training and how, like, I really feel the medicine of this card. And yeah, there's a lot of decks where I don't like the High Priestess. And it's funny because this particular card, which from the Wild Unknown, I know a lot of people struggle with this one, having the tiger here. But I am in my Chinese birth year a tiger. So I have fire, sun, Chinese tiger. And when I saw this card, I just laughed because it kind of brought a bunch of pieces together.
Wow.
Yeah. And then I know this is kind of jumping ahead, but when I saw the strength card in the bone in the bone stone, this to me looked like the integration of my High Priestess and strength.
Mm.
And so I really, really was entranced by this particular card because strength is my Leo major arcana.
Yeah, wonderful, beautiful cards.
I love this High Priestess from Super Lunaris. I don't know if you've seen Super Lunaris.
I haven't. Hold on, I'll just quickly bring you up. Beautiful. Mm.
Oh, that's beautiful.
One of my favorites.
Because you see, like in some cards, and I'm only discovering it, you just see the Dharma in her in her expression, right? How she's positioned, and
it's Justice. And this is my favorite Judgment card, I think, of all time.
wow.
Definitely one of the top Judgment cards for sure.
Yeah.
So Judgment, if you don't reduce the 20, so I'm a 20, but if you don't reduce it, then I'm exactly the same as Jonathan. So yeah, isn't that interesting?
I'm different. So I'll share mine now in a sec. I think our friends here were saying which cards they are, and Jen is number 4. So 4 is the Emperor, right?
Yes.
Yeah, numbers. Yes. Yeah, so that's Jen, and Corvin's life path card is Lovers. Well, my life path card is number 5. I'm the Hierophant, and you can add, you know, like I'm Hierophant for the life path card, and I think the Soul card, you know, if you kind of I think that's the thing, add the numbers or not, but I'm either 23 or 32 when you combine all the numbers, or even if you add the whole year of my birth plus my day of my birth and the number of the month. So I'm the Hierophant. I'm number 5. So for me, I absolutely relate to it, and I really like this one. Well, most people have this deck. This one is the Hierophant from the Light Seers Tarot that I resonate with, well, very much. For me, this one is about living your Dharma, but also living your Dharma in that joy and happiness. And for me, it's a great reminder for my Dharma because I know my Dharma is being a teacher now, and I guess my tarot life path cards and soul cards as well, they are in agreement with that. So this one for me, it's kind of, I really like that depiction of the Hierophant, but I also like that modern like Hierophant in and this one is the new deck for me. It's from the Everyday Enchantment Tarot. So he is more like of the teacher, right? But more teacher in a classroom or teacher at the university. And behind him, you can see all the different spirituality and religion symbols. So for me, it's just bringing those teachings together, kind of. And I guess probably with the yoga path, it's about union rather than separation. So this one I really love as well. And of course, Dalai Lama, goals in life, eh? So
Yes.
yeah. Yeah, and actually my birthday, I do share my birthday with Dalai Lama as well. So for me, that's very special. And again, we have all the spirituality here, like all the little symbols, right, referring to different religions and philosophies that are presented as the union. So yeah, I do see my Dharma very strongly in, well, not in RWS Hierophant as such, but now the cards like that, they really help me to understand the Hierophant, you know, from the more kind of the older classic decks, if you will.
Can I show you the Hierophant from Super Lunaris? Because I think both of you would love this.
Oh, I love this. Yeah, High Priest to you. Yeah. Sorry, I'll just quickly have a look. Wow, yeah, Sadhu.
Sadhu. The Sadhu as the so yeah, High Priest, Hierophant. I think we just need to be fluid with our language around the name of that card.
Yeah.
That card is also known as the Shaman.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah, the Shaman also would be like, you know, goals of, I guess, goals of the Dharma, or truly living your Dharma, right?
Mm-hmm. Beautiful.
Beautiful, such a beautiful card.
I love this deck so much.
Yeah, you always bring the cards that I want. Right, so yeah, so they're the mages, our life path cards, and now moving on to the court cards, and we still got 10 minutes, so yeah, I think we're actually doing very well for time today. So the court cards, what's your court card significator, or if you have, it can be by birth, like, you know, with like the month of your birth, the elemental references, or chosen by you. And if you find like it's linked with your elemental, with your dosha, with your elemental constituents, and maybe if you can just speak a little bit on the interaction of your court card significator or significators with your Hierophant card, if you see that interaction.
Good question. So depending on which system you use, so if you use the Golden Dawn, where you have the kings as the fixed and the knights as the mutable and the cardinals are the queens, then I'm fixed fire. So I'm fixed fire, which means I'm king of fire. And I really like this one from the Numinous Tarot, which is called the Mystic. And so I can completely relate the Mystic of fire to the High Priestess in these two decks. And then I have also this one from the Guardian. So this is the, this one is called the Elder of Fire.
I love her.
Completely connect this one to my Dharma for sure. And it's really interesting because one of the most challenging elements for me to work with in shamanic practices was fire. And as part of our training with the North, we were, I can't remember the number of solo fires. Part of the requirement for, you know, passing become the shaman is to do so many solo fires. And these solo fires were done in the summer when there are fire bans where I was living. And so we had to go off into the wilderness and do our solo fires and get so many solo fires done during this time. And it was really interesting how I struggled with fire during that portion of the medicine wheel when I was doing that. So it's really been an element I've had to take time to get to know and to embrace in a very in an intimate way. And I think because the high priestess energy is so watery, it's really been a beautiful balance for me. And I've talked before about the Temperance card in the Marielle Tarot and why I was so attracted to that tiger bursting out of the water was because it's the perfect, to me, it's me. It's me. You know, I'm a fish. I love to be in the water. Why do I love to be in the water? Well, it's my life path, but also, yeah, I just, you know, the card I'm talking about from the Marielle.
Yeah. I've seen it.
Yeah. So yes, I can completely integrate those cards, and of course, I can choose other cards. But yeah, that's the one I should. This is the one I'm talking about.
Yeah. And it's interesting how in the beginning of our chat, right, we talked about how living our Dharma requires that courage, and you mentioned fearlessness, right, Sadhana? And for you, working with that fire element that was uncomfortable, it probably did take that lots of kind of discomfort and fearlessness and courage to persevere to work with that element. Yeah.
Well, if you go by birth sign, which is how I was taught to pick the significator, I would be the Knight of Pentacles. I'm using the World Spirit Tarot here, so this is the Seeker of Pentacles.
So, Jonathan, what's your sun sign?
I'm a Virgo.
You're a Virgo. Okay.
Although I've seen Virgo also been the Queen coins as well. Right? So that's usually there. You know, there's so many different systems out there. But
so which decan are you in?
Second, I think.
Okay.
I'm like smack dab in the middle.
Okay, so I would call that Knight of Pentacles. Yeah. Right.
But it's funny because often when people are doing readings for me or I'm doing readings for myself, the card that seems to pop up in reference to me is often the Queen of Cups, which is funny considering it's like I live in Hawaii. I love to snorkel. I have to be in the ocean constantly. So it kind of fits, right? Especially with that high priestess energy, ocean energy.
Yeah, I deeply relate to her as well too.
Well, I do too, and it is mine. When it comes to my court card significator, I am water of water, right? So I am Queen of Cups, and well, I brought this deck today, so. Because I really found, you know, as I mentioned, the Everyday Enchantment is the new deck for me. But along with Gaian Tarot, I find like this one and the Gaian Tarot are so good for readings on dharmas and life path. And yeah, so this Queen of Cups, I'll just quickly show it to a little bit closer to those of you who are not familiar. I do resonate with this one, and for me, because I'm Vata Pitta, right, when it comes to dosha constitution, so my while I have a lot of air and space, also I do have that fire and water, and also I'm quite mobile. I love to be in the water, and I do resonate with this card. But of course, I do resonate with the Pages and the Knight of Swords, especially with that kind of the quick mind and all this kind of creativity that I have, all the ideas I have that I don't follow through. But if we're looking at the card that, well, you know, if we refer to the books, that would be my significator, and I think it actually goes really well with. Well, I see a good correlation and good connection, interaction with the Hierophant as well, because I like to see these two cards particularly that, well, that's this one is my Dharma, right? The teacher is my Dharma, my life path, my mission statement, and how I do it, the action is of the Queen of Cups to support me fulfilling that Dharma and be of that service as a teacher in the world. So that's how I see those two interact.
Mascha, can you take down Gerald's comment just so we have more?
Sorry, yeah. I just kind of wanted to highlight it for you before I forget. I'll just quickly do this and out. All right. Yes.
Truthfully,
Yes, and
a lot of times when I have to pick, if I pick one for myself, I usually pick the Hermit. I love this Hermit right here.
Because the Hermit is connected to
Virgo.
Virgo, yeah.
Yeah.
Wow, you know, that deck is definitely on the list of Jonathan made me do it.
Along with Super
I actually
Lunaris.
picked one for the second I saw it because it was, I was just like, yes.
Yeah. Well, like I said, I think this strength card just really takes it for me. So it really incorporates all of those aspects together. Yeah.
Yeah, and I love that those colors, right? Those elemental references that can be seen so nicely in that one.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Marielle's really beautiful as well too. The way that I love the pearls of wisdom that are there, and the strength, right? The whole metaphor of the pearl is comes up a few times in this deck, but it's very unusual that it's incorporated into the strength card. Yeah, beautiful.
Yeah, lovely. Yeah, so Mindy is sharing she's the Queen of Wands. Yeah, and we just coming to an hour here. So for those of you in the chat, do you have any questions for us to answer? Because Jonathan, he will have to very soon to go and pick his boy from school.
Let me just share one more.
Yeah, we'll just wait for the couple of questions.
This one
and then
is from the World Spirit Tarot. It's kind of glossy, but I love this Hermit. It's one of my favorites.
Beautiful.
And one more Hermit. It's got a it's easy to get those on the top, but I think both of you will love this Hermit right here.
Wow, yeah. It's also from Super Lunaris?
Super Lunaris.
Beautiful. You see, for me, the whole experience of us doing those features, right, and thinking about kind of our constitutions, our elemental constituents, our Dharma, has made me to look more for those decks that actually I think I've been lacking in my library, in my collection.
The ones that really speak to your soul, right?
Yeah, and even like doing readings for myself and others, because you can really see and you can really explore that particular life path or that particular quality.
Yeah, and you know, this is the Mother of Wands from Bakara Wintner's deck, and what I see in her body, well, it's also the fluid, the dance, right? The fluid nature, the movement of the fire. But also, can you see the shaman in there? Or the maybe
that's right, yeah.
I see a shaman. Some people see a bird.
I see like a sort of like a shamanic owl, you know, in a way, kind of shaman as an owl in, yeah.
I also see a shaman like in embracing the energy of the owl, like in the
yeah, that's how I kind of see is heading over.
Because I see a face. Oops, where did it go? I see a face right here.
Yeah, I see it.
I love this card. I really identify with that card in a way of the fluid nature of fire. You know, like we don't think of fire as the dance of the fire. We think of water associated with the flow and the fluidity. But there's also a fluidity to fire when we start to come to peace with the element.
Yeah. That's a great question, Swan Spirit. Do you believe Dharma is fixed for just one lifetime or more than one purpose on the agenda? For example, a change of purpose once a form of fulfillment is obtained.
I once asked a similar question to one of my very wise teachers, and that was, do you believe that we can work through any of our samskaras in one lifetime? So can we clear any of them? And she basically said, no, not a hope, not a hope. One lifetime is way too short to clear any major things. And so a lot of people die in their patterns. And I think as we move towards understanding our path and understanding, getting a deeper connection to what our patterns are that we're working with, we can get closer and closer. But until we reach a certain level of, I don't know, the early stages of enlightenment, I think these patterns and dharmas are going to stick around for a few lifetimes.
Yeah. Yeah, from my teachers, I've learned the same, and even with enlightenment, you know, like, well, we think enlightenment is that goal, if you will, but there is enlightenment with attachment, there is enlightenment with detachment. So, yeah, and
I had some words of wisdom from one of my teachers about enlightenment. He said that he had reached enlightenment several times, but it's not one of those things that it's sustainable. It's like you reach enlightenment and you're there for a few, and then you come back. And if you keep reaching for it, you'll reach it several times in a lifetime, but you'll never actually, it's never sustainable.
Yeah. And also you can see how you can get attached to it as well, right? So then it's not that fulfilled Dharma, fulfilled alignment then. And also even, I've read about spiritual teachers that some of them, they reached those kind of levels of enlightenment and they really didn't want to reincarnate again. But it's attachment, right? I don't want to come back into that reincarnation. So that's... And I think actually, if you fulfilled your Dharma through a few different lifetimes, if you have found that alignment when you're not attached, I don't think that you will come back and reincarnate again. I think that's when that sort of that, I guess that full, I don't have a word for it, that thing happens.
Nirvana.
What do you call nirvana? Yeah, I guess nirvana could be a term for that, right? But dissolvement, I guess you dissolve into that universe, right? You will always be part of it, but you will not reincarnate.
Becoming one with the one.
And it's a good note, I guess, for us to finish our chat today, hey?
Thank you for inviting me. This has been a pleasure.
No, thank you so much for joining me on my channel. It's a shame that Emba couldn't pop in to join us. And thank you to you as well, Sadhana, for joining and sharing your wisdom. And I'm sure that we will continue with this discussion, and hopefully next time we'll see you on Jonathan's channel. And I have linked Sadhana's and Jonathan and Emba's channels below as well. And after the live, I'll just make sure that I will link our previous 2 lives that we did, so you can watch back if you missed those.
Thank you for hosting us, Mascha.
Yes.
No, thank you so much. Yeah, and sending love and light to you both and to everybody here who has joined us for this fun discussion. I know I've missed a lot of comments, so I will be rereading them after they go live. And so thank you, everybody. Much love to you all, and we'll see you soon. Bye.
Bye.